Stepping from our ordinary world into the fantastical, Immersive XP explores the weird and wonderful imaginations behind a diverse range of themed experiences. From virtual reality to escape rooms to live-action roleplay, nothing is off the table. We'll take a deep dive into what makes these adventures worth attending and which ones to avoid. Join me on a journey to explore the extraordinary and meet the people who make dreams a reality. Welcome to another episode of Immersive XP. I am Taylus Forge, your non-binary host based in Southern California, seamstress by trade, silly little guy by trauma. Favorite cryptid? The Fresno Nightcrawlers. Fun fact of the week. The phrase, "an apple a day keeps the doctor away," originated as an anti-doctor propaganda due to the high fatality rate of early medical practices. Early variations of this phrase included, "An apple before bed means a doctor gets no bread," and "an apple a day means a doctor gets no pay." This week's episode is a hard mode, which is any experience with a higher barrier to entry. This can be because of high cost, high involvement requirements, etc. The immersive experience I attended was both costly and required heavy interaction as a participant. Delusion has returned for another year with an all-new story and new location. I personally had never attended a Delusion immersive horror theater experience before, but I attended with people who had. I got a lot of insight into the differences between this year and previous years from them, but also felt very lucky to go in with a fresh perspective. So a little bit about the show. Delusion, the Red Castle takes you back in time to the middle of the 20th century. Frederick Lowell, an outcast of the medical community, lives in the castle along with his favorite patients. You, the participant of Delusion, play as some of his patients that have minor superpowers. After the passing of Dr. Lowell's wife, he has become increasingly more insane. Your story begins when you awaken outside the Red Castle with both memory loss and a missing Dr. Lowell. Strange and horrific occurrences happen as the castle has devolved into chaos with the lack of the doctor. A little bit about the new location. This show takes place in the historic Stimson House, which is an Edwardian home built in 1890 in downtown Los Angeles. Not only is it a beautiful 3-story home, but also contains a giant basement used in later years for brewing and frat parties. Now it hosts this year's Delusion. For those who have attended previous years, there will be a lot less big special effects. The home is old and does not allow for much. They tried to make up for it with a lot of extra activities that the participants got to do with minor roleplay. I felt like the experience was very similar to a LARP in that you are given a role and have various side quests that you can do, but I would describe it more as an extended cutscene in a video game with QuickTime events. You have no agency in how the story will go, and every character actor tells you exactly what to do in order to progress from room to room. You also are not allowed to speak until prompted to, which made it very difficult for half my group, and myself, who do live-action roleplay pretty consistently, and the other half of the group who roleplay professionally. We were practically vibrating, waiting for our turn to say something when allowed. While this is a horror-themed event, most of the scares are through visual storytelling and tension. Hiding from something lurking through the halls, stealing from a slumbering person, playing games to amuse an angry patient, and so on. There were some jump scares, but it was very minimal compared to most haunts that you'll attend. Probably the worst part for me was the physical sensation of strings they had set up in the dark so it felt like webs were touching you. One of the really fun parts about this experience is that people may be taken away to do a side quest until they can return to the rest of the group. After the show, it was really such a delight to compare stories since everyone will have like a very different experience based on if they were taken or stayed with the main group the whole time. I was taken away twice, and I highly recommend it. Sometimes failure is rewarded. things that I liked. You're constantly moving and doing activities with the actors, and there's rarely ever a dull moment. I also really loved the deranged acting styles of each of the cast. I think the Doctor was probably the best out of the bunch. I genuinely felt a little bit scared of him, even though I knew he was just an actor. No spoilers, but there was also one trick toward the end that we were all baffled as to how they did it, and we've tried to compare stories, and none of us can come up with an idea of how it was done. The other thing that I really liked is that there is a hangout area with food, snacks, drinks, and a live magician. So it's a great place to kind of compare stories at the end. And a rare occurrence in Los Angeles, parking is included. Things that I didn't like. There was a big lack of role play. I understand trying to keep the time to be consistent since you are getting multiple groups going through the house. But it did feel a lot less immersive because you just had no opportunity to be yourself. I also thought the location was really stunning, absolutely gorgeous, but you can hear the LA traffic and planes flying by. In previous years, it was a lot more secluded, so it felt much more immersive. As for accessibility, this is probably going to be the worst accessibility-wise of any immersive event that I've done in the past few years. And what's worse is that the website doesn't fully describe that in full detail. There is a lot of stairs, and without being able to walk up and down stairs, you can't do this experience at all. There's no other way to get up and down. It's a 3-story building. And you also go below into the basement area which is a very narrow, rickety stairwell. Keep in mind, this is also an Edwardian home, so the ceilings are pretty low in some areas. We had a couple people that were over 6 feet tall in my group, and they were constantly worried that they were going to hit their head on something, especially when it's dark. The other thing to keep in mind is you may need to crawl or be in tight spaces. There is also strobe lights in certain areas of the home. And as always, this is a horror show. There are many potential triggering topics. Please check the website to see if there's anything that will be an issue for you. Also, the actors may touch you. So if that's a bother for you, make sure to put an X with your hands in front of yourself so that they don't do anything or potentially take you away if that's going to be an issue. As for the audience, you must be 12 or older in order to purchase a ticket. But the experience is definitely geared more toward adults. There are a lot of mature themes. They also serve alcohol. And even with the group that I was with, all of us were 30 and older, and some of us were pretty scared. As for personal recommendations, a full group of people you know is going to be the best experience. Make sure to wear comfortable, tight clothing. You want to avoid wearing loose clothing because if you're trying to move around tight spaces, also this is pretty cramped areas in an Edwardian home, you don't want to mess with any of the furniture, etc. Don't let your clothes get caught on those. So to have comfortable shoes going up and down the stairs, tight clothing that's not going to get loose and touch other things, going to be your best option. Also, try to avoid having any bags or belongings. You may have the best hiding spot in the home, but if your purse falls out and ruins your hiding spot, not saying this from personal experience or anything, you might get caught. Make sure to arrive early so that you can all sign the waivers, and also make sure to check in with each other. If you have the chance, make sure to leave time afterward to chat over a drink, maybe some snacks, and talk to the magician. This show is running on select nights for multiple time slots through November 3rd. Time slots are for up to 12 people, but you'll be put with random people if you do not buy out a full time slot. The tickets range from $110 to $180, depending on what day of the week that you choose, and if you decide to do the VIP experience. For those who did VIP, it was generally decided that it wasn't worth the additional cost. You get access to the private bar that has props from previous years and additional playtime, which allows you to participate in scaring other group participants. But For the value, it's up to you to decide if it's worth it. If the cost and the accessibility of Delusion is not a concern, this is a must-see experience for the Halloween season. It is unique and a great experience to become immersed into a dark world. You may find that the world has become a little darker from the results of your actions in the Red Castle. Until next time, the liminal space between your window and blinds is meant to be seen, not heard. Check out our website, immersivexps.com, to join our free Ko-fi, which will have visuals and additional content of the immersive experiences discussed in each episode. If you are an immersive experience artist or creator, no matter how small, consider contacting us so you can take part on a future podcast. This podcast is recorded and produced by SoCal Podcast Studio in Orange County. Thanks for listening.